Good evening, everybody. Okay, this morning I preached the whole sermon shivering and shaking and crying. I'm fine now. But I'm excited. I'm very, 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 very excited about what God is doing here. I'm excited about how God is revealing himself. And so I'm not really sure how to articulate it, but I'm trusting that God will just let it pour out. Yeah, overflow. So let me pray. God our Father, God my Father, let your will be done. In my life, me right here, in everybody, every single person that's here, let your will be done. Amen. So Sipo during worship was saying that in your presence I'm free. In your presence I'm free. And I was thinking, I was like, whose presence of my friends am I most free in? And sort of tracking in my life how I am in that person's presence. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking about my friends and my friends who are closest to me and how free I am in their presence, or if I have the freedom to be myself when I'm around those people. So I start thinking about them one by one, and I realize that the people whom I am closest to are the people who allow me to be myself the most. The people I want to spend most or all of my time with are the people who allow me to be myself the most. So if we say that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, should it not be our desire to make sure that we're carrying that Spirit wherever we go so that we have that freedom? Because it doesn't make sense to come into this venue on a Sunday, have this freedom because the Spirit of the Lord is here, and then walk out and have what? Because for me, if freedom is whatever it is, if I have it in a particular moment, I wanna capture it, I wanna seal it, I wanna import it, I wanna export it, I wanna have it at all times. So if it's the Spirit of God, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, then we need to find a way to have that Spirit with us, that presence with us at all times. It needs to be a priority if freedom is important, which to me it is. I hope it is to you as well. Anyway, hey man, Zani. Yeah, so my heart is that all of us may get to know God for who He really is. This morning after I spoke, I got off and I realized, I was speaking about a lot of things, but I realized that I was speaking as a healed person. I don't know when that happened. I don't know what I did. I don't know when it started, but I just realized I'm healed. And it was the most overwhelming thing ever. And so when I came tonight, I'm like, I'm going to speak as a healed person. And God was like, you've been healed for a while. I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? But it's because, most of the time, sometimes we get into worship and certain things come up. So, God sort of shows us, things about ourselves that we not ready to confront, or, things that are not pleasant. No one said that not everything about you is to be esteemed. I don't really like stuff like that. Because I think I'm amazing, like, in my entirety. So now, when you point out a point and you're like, this is not so great, I'm like, what do you mean, though? Because, you know. So the reality of confronting something that's like, not everything about you is to be esteemed. It's not a reality that you want to swallow. Ne? So what you want to do is pretend as if someone didn't say, okay, you're not dressed appropriately. Like my friends, are so real. So real. Oh, so real. Love them. But they'll come and they'll be like, okay, friend, this item of clothing is not for you today or ever, actually. And they say it because we're in a relationship. I love them, they love me, and they know everything that is to be esteemed about me. They already know it, ne? So we don't sit and celebrate each other the whole day. Ooh, you're pretty, also you. Ooh, you dress nice, also you. That's not what we do the whole day. Because we know this about each other. We know, I can't, after Carol preaches all the time, Carol, you're a good speaker. Like, I'm sure she's heard it enough now. She knows she's a good speaker. Also me, Carol. So we don't sit and, I mean, we do it, give honor where honor is due. However, when something comes up that needs attention, we point it out quickly because that person is so important. So God does the same thing to us. We'll be in His presence and He'll be like this, and that. You're like, you know, go around it, worship, it'll come up again. Other side. Like something's wrong with the place I'm sitting today. And there's things that God brings to our attention, not because He's trying to be like, there's something wrong with you. More than, and these are the things that I want to work on together if you let me. These are the things, this is the area that is causing a rift between us because ultimately it's about getting closer to God. So this is what it is that is obstructing you from coming towards me. This is what it is that is making you see me through an incorrect light. This is what it is that is making you think of me in an incorrect way and sit begging for that one thing that I've already taken care of. This is why you don't understand. This is why you think I'm unfair. And when he points at it, you know, God, please give me that one thing. And, so God is trying to be like, okay, not stop asking for that thing, but I want you to see something else. But you need to see why you're not seeing that something else. And it's this thing that I'm trying to show you that you're running away from. The very thing you're running away from. The very thing that you're too afraid to confront. The very thing about you that you think if people find out will be the worst thing that ever happened to you. The very thing about you that you think disqualifies you from being here tonight. I got a word as I walked in today that there's some people that come here and feel like this is like a Model C church and there's no space for them here because they don't speak proper English or they're not from a proper background. But God is like, you are made in my image, which means that you are representing me and the facet of who I am. So if you're saying that you're not welcome here, I'm not welcome here. And so the very thing that you think disqualifies you, the very thing that you think is what is keeping you away, is the very thing that God is talking to today. Is the very thing that God wants to talk to today. Because that thing which you have magnified and made such a big issue is really not an issue at all. Not that it's not an issue, as in it's an issue for God and for you, but it's really not an issue at all. It's an excuse to distance ourselves from what we're supposed to be living. And we need to be rejecting that. So, about this healing thing that I was talking about, like standing from a place of being healed. For the longest time, for me, at the beginning, being discipled was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Because it was that thing of like, that's that thing, and that one, and that one. And I'm like, is there anything fine here, everything, every time. And because like I like working on things. So like I'll come one thing and tell like, okay, there's an issue with this. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. I'll go home. I'll do whatever it is. I fix. I come back. Okay, Carol, I fixed it. Spoke to my dad. No longer an issue. And, and so she'll be like, hush. Okay, so she'll ignore everything that I've spoken about and come with another one. And I was like, oh, again? So I did that for like a year. And she didn't tell me, but stop like trying to fix. Not going to work. So, I spent the most part trying to come with whatever it is that I thought it was the issue and getting it fixed. Because for me, my journey with God and my progress was determined by these things getting fixed, right? So then every time I'd come into worship, I was like, crying, like, okay, Lord, Cal said I have a soul tie. First she said, you've got soul ties. I'm like, no, don't. Then she explained it. I'm like, no, I don't have soul ties. I'm telling you, I don't have those things. and, and she's like, okay, let me give you examples of how they manifest. I'm like, no, those guys, they're not an issue for me anymore. I don't call them. We don't communicate. There's nothing, I promise. And she's like, it's not about that. So she's like, it manifests itself in a certain way. So it's A, B, C, D, E. So I'm like, oh no, I do A. I do A. So having that and being confronted with that, so now every time I come into worship, I'd be like, okay, God, A, fix A, fix A, fix A, fix A, please fix A. Because my worship was about this thing being fixed, because this is the thing that's distancing me from God. This is the thing that needs work. This is the thing that is the issue. So please fix it. Please, like now. So that thing about moving away all the time, and God is like, okay, this thing is not the issue. I want to show you something about me that will make that thing go away. Right? I want to show you something about who I am that will make that look like nothing, because it is. So the focus at all times needs to be me. And that's why I'm saying I don't know when I got healed, because I just realized now that I no longer do A or B or C or D. I didn't try. I tried first when, when Carol was saying, stop doing this. I'd go back and try for like a month or two. After 3 months, I've forgotten that I'm not supposed to be doing that thing, because it's the default, right? It's the place that you fall back to, what you've known, what you've learned. Everything that you've known, everything that you've learned is where you're going to fall back to. And so I'd always fall back to that, because it was up to me to fix it. It was up to me to stop doing it. And God is like, stop that thing and come to me. No one's preached a sermon about intimacy. He's like, it's just about spending time, intimacy. And we're like, okay, fine. That's nice, But spending time with God, how is it going to fix the fact that I have an issue with flirting? I don't see how this is going to work. It doesn't make sense unless I'm going to speak to a person and while you're speaking, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't make sense. Hey, I said A is no longer a problem, huh? you know, so I didn't make practical sense to me how the spending time with God thing is going to lead to this thing going away. But the focus, if the focus, that our only desire, our sole ambition is to love you just the same. When that becomes the heart burning in the very deepest parts of who we are, these things, they fall away. That scripture that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all, right? So that means that one key thing is true, actually, of just staying connected and getting to know God. A relationship with God is all. That removes every single thing. It falls away without you noticing. And by the time it falls away, you don't celebrate it, because it fell away long ago, because you're so busy focused on God that it just happened to fall away. So, when it says let heaven come, when we say let heaven come, this is what it's come to mean for me. It means at the very moment, at the very point where you decide to let God's will in your life be done, and not let as if you are unlocking something more than allowing God to have full reign, right? So there's nothing that you're doing more than just being like, God, I'm here. So at that point where you're saying, God, I'm allowing heaven to come through me, there's a collision between hell and heaven that happens. The collision comes from this. If you imagine our lives and the way that we've lived, right? I said this in the morning, that free will does not exist unless God gives it. This is what I mean. We grow up, we are born into a family. In that family, we learn certain things. We learn how to relate to people. You learn what's normal from the family. So already you've got a perception informed by someone else, who's someone else's experience, someone else's experiences. The generation that came before them informed how they live, who are now informing how you live. So you've got all that happening. Then you go to school, and there's like 3 groups of friends. You're either an A, B, or C. There's no, I'm unique. You know this unique thing? Everyone thinks they're unique. Everyone thinks there's no unique. You're either in group A or group B or group C. So now, if you come out of that and then say now you're deciding, from where? Who informed that decision that you're making? It was either your mom, your dad, your home, your friend. But the freedom in that free will is minimal. So when God says that, with the Spirit, I am giving you freedom, God first comes, frees you so that you can decide to choose him. From a place of freedom. That's what freedom is. Being free to choose. Okay, back to colliding. So that happens, right? Everything that you've inherited, everything that happened before you, the generations that came before you. So I'll just use an example. If your grandmother happened to be a sangoma, right? By the time you are sitting here, you've inherited things that you have no idea about. They've prayed certain prayers, they've opened certain doors on your behalf, right? If my parents were saved, opposite is true. They've prayed also certain prayers, they've done. So by the time I'm making a decision, it's informed by all those things that have happened. Now, when I come and let's say the first scenario, your grandmother was a sangoma, or even if it's not that, let's say you come from a home of dire poverty, and that's been your line forever. When we come and we make a decision and we're like, God, let your will be done, all of this hell, literally hell, comes and collides with heaven, right? And from here on forth, you're saying now heaven is going to come. But now imagine the resistance that's going to be here, right? The resistance, because you're saying let heaven come. Now what that means is that every single decision that you make is important. There's no, but it's just like, he likes me, so look, we're going to try it out. No, come on. No, there's nothing like that. Every single decision, and that's where we fall apart, because we think that we need God for big stuff, right? But no, we need God for everything. We need God for everything. Because if we're only consulting God for the big things, in the small areas, that's where hell is coming through. That's hell is moving right through us in the little things. And the big things God is controlling, but it doesn't matter because we've allowed room for this to perpetuate. And we've accepted it. You're like, no, but mama, like, come on, I'm like this. This is my biggest problem. I'm like, how do you know how I am? I've been like this for like 22 years. You're telling me this is not who I am. Who are you? Carol? But then she'll say, God has shown me a picture of who you are. And in line with that, you can't be a flirt. How can you be born a flirt? Who's who? It's not who you are. But it's so easy for us to assume these identities, to assume, because it's all you've ever known. So then when God comes with these foreign things and says, you are going to change a nation, you're like, okay, cool, fine. Carry on walking. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't change you in any way because you want to go back to what's normal. But God is trying to impact a generation here. What that means is that your grandchildren are going to be speaking about you who prayed for them, and they're no longer making a decision about, funny things. Because sometimes you're fighting something, you don't know what, you haven't physically done anything, but you can feel that you're fighting resistance from someone else. You're not the one you didn't do anything to be poor. It just happened. It's from the background. You've inherited this poverty. How do you get out yourself? One day kids are going to be like, there was this grandmother who chose God, who made a decision to live and abide in God, and now our line is our whole line. And that's why in the Bible, when they talk about, I spoke in the morning about Isaac. So because you remember Carol spoke about Abraham and Sarah, and they bore a son called Isaac. Now Isaac was faced with the very same conundrum that Abraham was faced with. His wife was barren. Okay, now where does this barren wife come from? Because Sarah and Abraham are a completely different line. Here comes someone from a completely different family who's barren. Now the curse has seemed to seep through, cross borders. No, because the enemy is not joking here. He's serious about business. There comes the curse cross country to this side, and then Isaac decides to believe God and wait on God, and then the baby came from Isaac's line. And now when we speak about, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and it's not like the same promise was not given to Abraham. It's not like the same promise was not given. So the opportunities have also been given to our parents, their fathers' fathers. They didn't decide. So now, at this point, opportunity again for heaven to collide. Do you choose heaven? And you see, it sounds like it's a complicated process. No, it's just a relationship with God, really. A relationship with God is heaven colliding with earth every day. And heaven prevails all the time. It's not complicated. Yeah. So then I'm like, God, what does it take? What does it take? What does it take? What do we need to do? He's just like, just be in a relationship with me, really. It's not a complicated thing. Be in a relationship with me. If you're saying you want generations to change, if you're saying you don't want the situation to perpetuate, some of the things you don't even know they're wrong. I see myself when I'm discipling my girls. I'm like, this is wrong. No. Let me tell you, my mom is the reason why. And you're like, so I do that as well. You want to make excuses for why things are the way they are. And God cannot work in an atmosphere like that, more than just surrendering. And being like, God, I'm not sure what's wrong. Just take away everything that is not of you and let's move. Here's the thing, God speaks to the free person on the inside of you, not this person wrapped up in dysfunctions. He's speaking to the free person. So when God says you are loved, he's speaking to that person and he's calling that person out. When God says you are free, that's the person he's speaking to. So as long as you walk out of here and hold on to that Whatever it is, you're going back to hell. Okay, one more illustration. So then Jesus, 10 lepers come to Jesus, right? We know the story. I'll say it anyway. So these 10 lepers, I said it in the morning and people laughed, but for the sake of everyone here, lepers are people who have leprosy. Whatever. So so these 10 lepers come to Jesus. So they have leprosy, and then Jesus says to them, go and present yourself to the priest, right? And on their way, they all 10 of them, they become cleansed of the leprosy. So there's no longer leprosy in the body, right? So they go their way. The one comes back and he's like, Jesus, thank you, I'm healed. I'm like, the leprosy is gone. And then Jesus says to him, and now you, because of your faith, you are healed. So now I'm asking, okay, but they were cleansed already. Why now the second healing, round two? Why? Why more healing, you know? And this is what came to me. We come here on Sundays, right? And we experience God's healing. We do. It's undeniably. It's undeniable. During worship, something happens, something shifts, something moves. Healing happens during worship, right? But now what's the problem on Monday now? What's happening on Monday? What's happening on Monday? What's happening on Monday? Jesus is not like a temple that you go to and then leave, right? So that leper that came back to Jesus, because he wasn't looking for the healing, he was looking for Jesus. Now, the leprosy, fine, physically it left the body, but why did Jesus feel a need to still go further and heal him? What was it on the inside of him that still needed more Jesus? What was it that still needed more Jesus? There's stuff that needs a lot more Jesus than what we think we need. So we come here and drink of what we think we need, right? And because I mean, God is faithful, so He will meet you there. Where you think you need Him, He will meet you there. But the problem is Monday, the areas that you have not submitted, here they are rising. Do you know? Because if every single area is not submitted to God, it will manifest naturally. Every kingdom has its Lord. So if there are kingdoms on the inside of us that are lorded by us, they will manifest on a Monday. So what does this mean? That every day Jesus needs to be doing this healing process thing. And it's not about getting healing from Jesus more than just being with Jesus. I was having a conversation with Chen, and she said this. She said, Chennai, she was here, she said a testimony about Geneva, that's Chen. She used to be here at Wits. Because I heard, who's Chen? Anyway, so we're having a conversation on the phone, and I don't know what to talk about. And she says to me, Musa, do you realize that, you know the story of Shadrach, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Okay, fine. 5 minutes left. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When they were presented before the king says to them, you need to bow before me because that's the law and the decree of the day. And they say to him, listen, whether God comes through for us or not, we're not going to bow before you. Right? So then they get into the fire. And then, obviously, they don't burn. But there's a fourth person in that fire. And that was Jesus. And so Chen says to me, do you realize that when those people got out of the fire, they were not saying, hey, we didn't burn, or whatever, to the guy, the king, hey, we didn't burn. No. They got out of there and they were like, we were with God. That was the only thing that they boasted about, not the fact that they almost got burned, didn't get killed. What was priority to them is that they, in that moment, were with God. That's what they were crazy about, not the fact that they didn't burn. How crazy do you have to be? Because me, yeah, you're fire, yeah. You know, and I know that I've had that attitude coming out of trials. Where you come out of something and God has come through and it becomes a monument. Did you see God? Did you see God came through there? Did you see God came through there? You know, it's nice. Whatever. The point is, it's not about that more than it's about God. It's about God. It's about God. Not what He comes through for. And if we worship those monuments, if we worship those miracles, you won't see God. You won't see God. And God's heart is to be close to us, to be close to us, to be close to us. And so those things that are standing in the way that He wants to be removed anyway, not even saying that we should do anything more than just come to me every day, all the time. And there's enough of God available in every single moment to be close to Him, to be in a relationship with Him. It's not a myth, it's not a rumor. And it's not exclusive for like pastor people. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. Uh, and there's so much grace available tonight. One, for that instant healing, but two, for the grace to pursue a relationship with God consistently. God is going to heal us of things that we didn't even know we needed healing from. God is going to heal us of habits that we have that we didn't know were bad without someone even telling us. God is sovereign. God is so sovereign. But God is only asking for a willing heart that's like, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here and I'm willing to take that step. Please stand with me tonight.